Hi, Kristen. How you doing? We are done. I've got your presentation up here, and I just wanted to do. All right, so here we are. We got the full page view, and I'll just go through a lot of things you're going to have heard before, and other things are afresh, as it were. So let's get started. This is not harmonious. This actually may possibly even be a low res image. You might want to check that image. It's questionable. It's hard to tell with the PDF rendering, but that might be a low res image. No loss. I don't think you need a lemon image on the cover. I mean, I think just the 2022 Winter Olympic Games branding and communication program, as well as the logo and a white background on the page. I don't think this stuff is all necessary, but then again, as you're getting to know me as a designer, I'm a minimalist. So I think a lot of this is the word superfluous comes. I don't even know how to say that word. I don't know why I'm trying to use it. I've always wanted to use it, so here I am. The superfluous additions, visual additions, I think are something that, if anything, dilute the message as opposed to enhancing it. For example, I don't know where this image, to me, it doesn't loan anything to the cover, and neither does the background. The background has the old logo with the, you can see before the stroke was fixed and it was real weak on one side, and you're featuring that in the background. So that's really questionable in my judgment, as is the choice to place this stripe right through the center of your logo. And I think that's a critical error. And I mentioned that last week. So, in a typical branding program, and a typical corporate branding program, you would have do's and don'ts with logo and presentation, and typically you have what's called a clear, safe distance to use as kind of a border or a buffer around the logo. So things like this typically would not be allowed. It dilutes the brand. Spreads look good. I think that you've done a good job with the grid. I think you've done a good job. Definitely superior to where we've been and what we've seen in the past. So presentation-wise, I think you're really, really coming along nicely. I think your type is really large, and you have a tendency to want to push your type to the corners of the working area. So keep in mind, white space is definitely your friend. So these headlines and subheads are just so large. I think they could really, really come down and really activate some of the negative space on this page. Not sure about these vertical color bars that you've used on each page. To me, they're doing nothing more than precluding you from using almost a third of each page. Okay, so that's something that I mean. That's questionable. I mean, if you think they're critical, then I suppose they would say, why Stockholm twice? Why not say continued? See what I'm saying? So that way. Okay, and I'm just going with some visual things here in terms of the presentation. So if I'm jumping around, forgive me. I think just because the logo fits around the page number isn't a reason to do it. I don't think it fits conceptually, and I think that you're tampering with the logo in an area that otherwise would not be allowed. And then you're really starting to get into some good hierarchy here, specifically with the bold and the bullet points. So I'd like to see some more of that typographic hierarchy being used through the page. A good job with your image credits. I've noticed that these areas, placeholders for your images, kind of jump around quite a bit. They change sizes, and I think that's distracting. I would say create some uniformity on that portion of the page and try to use it. You're using some low resolution images too. That's a low res image. It certainly does look like this is as well. So you want to check those. Okay, so I think the type is really coming along nicely. I want to mention something about demarcating paragraphs. In your justified type settings here, which you've accommodated quite nicely with the spaces between letters, but you still have some weird spots. Here's one right here. This whole line here where it says needs to be a system in place. Check that, because it's all turning into one word. And justify type tends to do that. I've got some pretty good settings that I use. If you need me to forward those to you, I'll be more than glad to. Just email me and remind me, or place somewhere in the classroom so other students can have access to that as well. I'll be glad to forward you my settings that I use for justify type, which is very rarely. Another thing is justify type. I would recommend either one. I recommend a space between. I think this indent, I'm talking about to demarcate your new paragraph, a space between paragraphs as opposed to the indent. Couple of reasons. Number one, you're indented probably 5 characters, and I think that's a little deep in the paragraph because I think it's really decimating your left margin. That gorgeous left margin, all of a sudden, new paragraph, bam. And look what, I'll show you another example where it's really shows some devastating right here. You got this really nice left margin established, and that you don't want that there, that hyphen either. And then you've got this indent that just kind of, it's like, damn, it was just going so well. You know what I mean? In terms of typography. So and then look at this. Look at this. This typesetting here looks really unusual. There's a typographic widow right there. Here's another one technically. That's one technically. Watch your orphans and widows. About the type. If I ever am forced to use justify type, I certainly use a space between paragraphs to demarcate the new paragraph as opposed to an indent for the reasons that I mentioned before. Indent just kind of decimates that left margin. You can see the weird spacing here now that you have some special characters. You're using some decimals and some numerics, and some other special characters, which is really showing how that justify type is affected in a negative way there by bunching things together. And then look at how wide that amongst the SAMI, look how much room that has. And then how this is all squished together. So food for thought there on your typographic presentation. Other than that, I think as far as research and presentation goes, I think that you're solid right in there as far as some of the better work that I've seen in this particular assignment. So good job there. I'm not real sure why you elected to use change your typographic color. You haven't done that before. So to do it now here just leaves a big question mark with me. Okay, and that's the only spot you use it. There's a kind of an unwritten thing in design, and I truly believe in it. If you only have using something once, get rid of it. It's all about consistency. So if you're using a design element only one time, definitely consider removing it altogether. I don't know about that type wrap right there. It's really forced, as you can see. And then there's a widow at the end of that paragraph. So I would rethink that. Just go ahead and end the paragraph there. And you can always say continued on to alleviate these typographic issues that may arise. I'm going to Command R here real quick because I just want to do something. Let me pull a guide. That's good. Okay, that is just then. That was here's what I wanted to see here. Let's go to the. Okay, got some misalignment right here. Okay, see how I pulled up a guide here on the X height of the left page, and on the right page you can see we're out of alignment. Not by much, but I could see it. I could see it as I turned the page. So there's a couple. You want to check a couple others. That also does not look. I guarantee it. I mean, I'll do it, but it's going to show the same result. See, that's not in alignment. Okay, branding concept. You're going to want to show that logo alone. There's just too much on this page with this logo, and that would be something that if I were behind this, if I were money behind this, I would say, hey, whoa! I spent a lot of money for this logo. Let's show it instead of diluting it with all of this other information on the page. I do not recommend showing the mark. I recommend showing the logo, telling the story, and then showing the whole logo. Now, if it's going to be allowed that you can use the mark away from the type, the logo type and the rings, state that and then show it, but don't start your branding showing it differently than the main intention. Not sure these are working. These are not working. That, and that, I think. That of the three as a grayscale, yeah, but the blue and the yellow, I don't think those are working. Okay. Now your color scheme, and you also have some inconsistencies starting here. Actually, I am wrong. You are consistent with the typographic grid. Then your placement images look good, but these are really super randomly placed. And that, again, that background, that is really interfering with the presentation of these pages. So again, here's that. The choice of placing these these vertical color bars on the page, again, I question that. Placement shot looks great. Everything looks great. Branding looks awesome. Outstanding. That looks nice. Good job. Again, though, here's what you're doing. Again, you're showing the logo out of context. Really out of context. I mean, you've actually slipped words in between the logo mark. Instead of stopping at just that line through there, now you've got words in there. So that's something that is, plus this page looks really forced. There's just too much to see and not a whole lot of visual hierarchy. It's almost feel like everything's getting forced in my face on the cover of that. So think about visual timing. Think about setting a cadence to time your presentation using scale as your guide. And then the rest of the placement shot look great. And then this is wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to give us a good, solid citations. Outstanding. Great job. All right. Good job. Any questions at all? You're a good student. I like working with you. You're very easy to work with, and things seem to make sense to you. If they don't, you ask questions until they do. And that's really cool. I just noticed something here. You're probably like, shut up already. I just noticed something on the back page here. These have been stretched. They're no longer circular. So this whole pattern you created looks like it was stretched. So that's an issue. I know it's the old logo with the before you address the difference in scale. I'm sorry, the different stroke size, the varying stroke size. But take a look at that. It's almost oval now. I'm sorry. Just noticed that. Anyway, good job. Any questions at all? Please give me a holler. Sorry this took so long. I tend to talk a lot, but give me a holler if you have any questions or comments. Thanks very much, Chris.